And oh man, it is a lot going on in the world of Caitlin Clark. New sponsorships to the left, new deals to the right. It's a lot going on. We are gonna get to everything. Oh, that's a boss move. Oh, that's a crazy boss move. That's a flex. Hey, listen, I understand. You got Nike deals, you got freaking PGA Golf Tour, Live Golf Tour, you got hockey sponsor. I know you got a lot going on, but to turn down 15 M's.
The truth about Caitlin Clark is so disturbing to the WNBA that the league's commissioner just watched a $50 million offer get rejected, triggering a meltdown that is threatening to tear the entire organization apart. What I'm about to show you has been hidden behind closed-door meetings and panicked press releases for weeks. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why one 22-year-old player now holds the entire future of women's basketball in her hands. This story has been buried under sanitized headlines, but the chaos is real, and it's so much worse than anyone is reporting.
15. Woo! After it started at 5,
right?
But the official final offer was $15 million for 10 weeks. He must be making some good dough, and I just think that it was more like a a league thing.
She didn't want to be
anything.
Yeah,
she had to give the WNBA.
Yeah, and I'm sure many offers came to her, especially after that. I think we helped her.
Yeah, make more money
with some more money. If anything, you got a name like Ice Cube offering you $15 million on publicly, man. You got all that. That's all you need. That's all you need for the other 5 and the other 5 and the other 5 to come together.
The official story they want you to believe started with a historic draft class and a surge in popularity. But what really happened behind closed doors was an act of sheer desperation. The WNBA, a league that has been financially bleeding for years and on track to lose another $50 million this season, saw Caitlin Clark not as a player, but as a lifeline. She wasn't just dropping threes from the logo, she was an economy on 2 feet. Ticket prices skyrocketed, merchandise flew off the shelves, and arenas that once echoed with silence were suddenly sold out. The league wasn't just growing, it was on life support, and Clark was the only doctor in the hospital. So they scraped together the biggest offer in women's sports history, a reported $50 million package designed to lock her down and secure their future. They thought it was a king's ransom. They would soon discover it was chump change.
Unrivaled. If y'all thought a few million and some equity was going to get her to show up and play in your league, you got another thing coming. I said it. If Unrivaled want Caitlin Clark, y'all, a minimum of 10 million plus like 50% ownership of the whole league. That's where we start. That's the starting negotiation point. I might have undersold her, y'all. I might have undersold Caitlin Clark. Look at...
Here's where it gets absolutely insane. While everyone was focused on her on-court performance, Caitlin Clark was playing a completely different game, a game of power, leverage, and brutal financial chess. When the commissioner slid that record-breaking offer across the table, expecting tears of joy, they were met with a shrug. The rejection wasn't just a no, it was a catastrophic reality check that sent shockwaves through the entire league. It was the kind of no that makes executives question their entire business model. For the first time, a player looked the WNBA dead in the eye and reminded them that she didn't need them nearly as much as they needed her. The silence in that room must have been deafening.
League is on welfare, okay? If they weren't on welfare, then the league would fold and there would be no women's basketball. And that is basically what has been revealed in this bombshell report about the WNBA being on track to lose roughly $50 million this year. $50 million, which is significantly more than the WNBA had been losing on a yearly basis in the past. Now, again, this is a little bit surprising because of the explosion in popularity of the WNBA due to Caitlin Clark, okay? But once we get into the details, it's not really all that surprising. But at the same time, reports like this kind of drive home the point that reasonable people have been trying to make about the WNBA.
What happened next still gives me chills. The league didn't just accept her decision, they went into a full-blown panic. The first stage was denial. Anonymous insiders started leaking stories to the press claiming the offer was still under discussion or that the details were complicated. This was a pathetic attempt at damage control, the corporate equivalent of trying to delete your browser history before your parents walk in the room. But the truth was already out. Caitlin Clark had flexed on the entire organization, and now the WNBA was scrambling to save face. They pumped out highlight reels and pushed hashtags about the growth of the game, but it was too little too late. The narrative was set. Their biggest star had just told them their money wasn't good enough.
Right, recent report dropped that the Big Three reportedly offered Caitlin Clark 15 M's for 10 games, but she declined. Crazy. Her endorsement deals must be pretty decent for her to willingly turn that down, because we know her WNBA salary is nothing to brag about. But for her to do that, I guess I look at it like this. If she were to have accepted that before she even stepped foot on a WNBA court, I could only imagine how they would have treated her. I don't even think she would have made it through half the season. She would have had a season-ending injury.
But wait, it gets worse. To understand why Caitlin Clark could look at $50 million and walk away without flinching, you have to look outside the league. Her endorsements are an empire. Nike didn't just give her a contract. They gave her a staggering 8-figure deal with her own signature shoe, something established MVPs like Aja Wilson are still waiting for. Gatorade, State Farm, Panini. They're not just sponsors, they are partners in a global brand that is already worth far more than any WNBA contract. She can make more money smiling in a 30-second commercial than most players make in an entire season. The league thought they were offering her the world. In reality, they were offering her a tiny island in an ocean of cash she already commanded.
And she declined it. If that doesn't tell you how much money Caitlin Clark is making, I don't know, bro. Because who's saying no to $15 million for 10 games? She doesn't even have to score 10 points and she still would be making more than a lot of NBA players make. But Caitlin Clark isn't even back from an injury yet to play for the Indiana Fever. Do you guys think Caitlin Clark should have taken this $15 million deal?
Clark, they would have no fans. And I think that a lot of people are forgetting the fact that just, again, a few years ago, before Caitlin Clark was in the league, this is what it looked like at a WNBA.
This is the part that nobody saw coming. The rejection of the league's offer was just the beginning. Other massive offers, like Ice Cube's reported $15 million deal for just 10 games in the Big Three league, were also turned down. Why? Because Caitlin and her team understood something the league was terrified to admit. Her brand was bigger, more powerful, and more profitable on its own. Every packed arena, every ratings record, every sold-out jersey wasn't a victory for the WNBA. It was a testament to her personal power. Rejecting those offers didn't weaken her, it made her a legend. It sent a message to every corporation and every fan on the planet. She could not be bought or controlled.
Speaking of basketball, your cousin Caitlin Clark just got an 8-figure deal with Nike.
Yeah.
A lot of people in our community is up in arms. They not feeling that. They mad Aja Wilson don't got a shoe yet. And it's simple math, bro. Aja Wilson played in the championship for the WNBA, and the final game peaked at like 1.2 million. Caitlin Clark played in the Final Four, and the game before the championship game peaked at 17 million viewers.
Caitlin Clark is gonna come to the WNBA and
She
violate that shit.
What I discovered next is backed by undeniable data, and it proves just how catastrophic Clark's departure would be. Let's talk about the Clark effect in raw numbers. Games featuring the Indiana Fever are seeing a 250% increase in national viewership compared to the league average last year. Her debut game peaked at nearly 3 million viewers, the highest for the league in over 2 decades. On the road, opposing teams are moving their games against the Fever to larger NBA arenas just to accommodate the demand, and they are still selling out. Her jersey sold more units on draft night than the entire Dallas Cowboys team roster combined in 2023. The league isn't just benefiting from her. She is the league's entire business model right now, and she knows it.
WNBA needs to do something about this. Kathy Engelberg, you need to get a hold of what's going on here. The officiating Kelsey Mitchell getting knocked around like a damn pinball, shoots 4 free throws. Aaliyah Boston plays an entire game as big, as strong, as physical as she is. Aaliyah Boston shoots 0 free throws. And she wasn't standing at the 3-point line. The officiating is flat out atrocious. Everybody else is getting calls. I think it's ridiculous. Just the fact that Aaliyah Boston shot 0 free throws tells you everything in itself.
With this unprecedented power came an unprecedented backlash from within. A document I found, not in a file, but in the on-court actions and post-game comments, proves a disturbing trend. While fans were celebrating her, a faction of veteran players, the old guard, saw her as a threat. They felt the league they had bled for was now genuflecting to a rookie who hadn't paid her dues. This wasn't just professional jealousy, it was a full-blown rebellion. They believed her instant stardom overshadowed their years of grinding in relative obscurity. The respect they felt they had earned was being handed to her on a silver platter, and they were determined to knock her down a peg, both literally and figuratively.
something that do not be surprised if President Trump speaks on with that kind of audience that is protective of a Caitlin Clark and what she stands for and what she represents. And they come to a conclusion that they believe she is being unfairly treated. That is going to be a problem for the WNBA. And based on Trump's history with the NFL and him being an obvious sports fan, goes to events and stuff like that, he pays attention to this kind of stuff. I'm just warning them, watch it, because if he gets involved and that base gets involved, because somehow, some way they embrace victimhood on a part of Kate.
The evidence was hiding in plain sight. On the court, the officiating became atrocious, almost purposefully negligent. Clark was getting hip-checked, shoved, and hammered on drives to the basket with no calls. While ticky-tack fouls were called against her, her teammate Aaliyah Boston, a dominant physical presence, played an entire game without shooting a single free throw. It was clear this wasn't just bad refereeing, it felt strategic. It was as if the league, either by direction or incompetence, was allowing its veteran stars to physically police the newcomer they could no longer control with money. It was a desperate, ugly attempt to humble her.
WNBA did it because the sisters was upset that Caitlin was getting so much attention, and they had to, the league had to hold Caitlin back or allow Caitlin to be held back with the refs, allowing the physical play against her by the players, the media diminishing her impact at every turn, and her play, and the league never coming to her defense to, try to thwart off some of her.
The phone call that happened next would destroy everything. Metaphorically speaking, as the off-court war began, in post-game interviews, you could feel the tension. Players like Kelsey Plum took subtle shots about her team not being present for an awards ceremony. The media, in some corners, began trying to downplay her impact, framing her as overhyped. It was a coordinated effort to remind everyone that the league was bigger than one player, but it backfired spectacularly. Fans saw right through it. They saw a transcendent star being unfairly targeted, and it only made them more protective of her. The WNBA was trying to put out a fire with gasoline, and the entire situation was about to explode.
WNBA hates Caitlin Clark. She is a white girl in a predominantly black league who's better than all of them. Even with everything that's going right now with the pay us what you owe us shirt, you saw Kelsey Plum at the end of it tattletale basically and bring out Caitlin Clark about her team not being there. So there's always...
Here's where the real story starts. This controversy quickly escaped the world of sports. With a fan base that protective and a story that clear-cut, it started to attract attention from everyone. Commentators began to frame it as a story of a successful individual being unfairly targeted by a system that felt threatened by her power. The situation became so charged that some even predicted political figures like Donald Trump might weigh in, turning a basketball dispute into a national debate. The WNBA wasn't just losing control of its biggest star, it was losing control of the entire narrative, watching it spiral into a public relations nightmare of their own making.
They offered Caitlin Clark $15 million to play in 10 games. That's $1.5 million per game, bro. And she turned it down. Caitlin Clark, you so much better than me. Because the WNBA would have never... Hey, listen. I would have never stepped foot on that court. $1.5 million per game. Bron don't even make that. And you turned it down for the... Her contract in the WNBA, she gonna make like $400,000 in 4 years. That's the part that I don't really understand about WNBA players. They make so much bread everywhere else. They be making more bread in college. They make more bread overseas. They can make more in Unrivaled, the Big Three. There's so many options, but they still be playing in the WNBA. I don't get it.
The commissioner was now facing an impossible choice. Kathy Engelbert was trapped between two warring factions. On one side, she had the veteran players, the backbone of the league, who felt disrespected and were demanding the league not bend to a single rookie. On the other, she had Caitlin Clark, the golden goose whose departure would financially cripple the entire organization. Every decision was a landmine. If she publicly defended Clark, she risked alienating the entire players' union. If she didn't, she risked looking weak and allowing her biggest asset to be bullied out of the league. It was a strategic crisis with no right answer. 3 people knew the truth, but only one talked through their actions, and that was Caitlin Clark. Her rejection of the money wasn't arrogance. It was a masterclass in modern branding and self-awareness. For decades, female athletes were told to be grateful for whatever scraps they received. They were told to smile, promote the league, and never question the system. Caitlin Clark just took that entire playbook and set it on fire. She proved that gratitude doesn't pay the bills, but leverage does. She showed an entire generation of athletes that their true worth isn't determined by a league contract, but by the brand and the audience they build for themselves. This next detail will change everything you think you know about the future of this sport. Clark's rejection has opened Pandora's box. Rival leagues like Unrivaled and the Big Three are no longer just minor curiosities. They are now seen as legitimate, existential threats. They are watching this internal chaos in the WNBA and licking their chops. They know that if the league continues to mismanage its biggest star, they can swoop in with a compelling offer. Not just more money, but a better environment, one where stars are celebrated, not resented. Her no to the WNBA was an implicit maybe to a future where women's basketball isn't a monopoly. Remember what I told you about the old guard's rebellion? This is where it connects to the league's potential collapse. The internal conflict is creating the perfect opportunity for a mass exodus. Other players are watching this. They're seeing Caitlyn's success, they're seeing her leverage, and they're starting to wonder why they're settling for pennies on the dollar in a league that seems to punish its most popular player. Caitlyn's rejection wasn't just a personal decision. It was the spark that could ignite a league-wide revolution, with players realizing their power and potentially fracturing the sport as we know it. The final devastating truth is this: Caitlin Clark is now bigger than the WNBA. The league is the opening act, and she is the main event. They need her for their TV deals, their ticket sales, and their very survival. She, on the other hand, could walk away tomorrow and be more successful than ever. By turning down $50 million, she didn't just reject a contract. She redefined the power dynamic of an entire sport. She holds all the cards, and the commissioner knows it. Every time she steps on the court, every record she breaks, it's just another reminder of who is really in control. The WNBA tried to buy their savior, but instead, they exposed just how fragile their entire future really is. She did it all with one simple, earth-shattering word: no.